Here at Microsoft, we believe that Windows, it's not an operating system, it's more like a home. With Windows Vista, it was kind of like a home that you could barely get into, and everything ran really slowly, and a lot of things just broke all the time. But Windows 7 was like a nice house. It was kind of like a fancy apartment. But then Windows 8 was more like a house that kind of looked nice, that had a bunch of pictures everywhere, but also it had a refrigerator in the bathroom. And now with Windows 10,
Yeah, you're not getting the point of what we wanted you to do.
I'm doing the analogy you said to
Yeah,
do.
we're just gonna have this other guy do
Okay,
the
but
video.
It might
that
be a
guy, he
town, it
looks
might
like
be
a
your
thug.
college, it might be a
You can't
library,
like
it might
why
be
is
a
he wearing a
restaurant,
flight
a
jacket?
bar,
That's fine.
it might
That's
be your
fine.
gym.
And welcome to another sensational Sunday. I'm Mike, and yes, this week we're talking all about Windows 11. So last week I covered the leaks, which ended up being, I'm not going to say 110% accurate, so we're just going to say 110%. Yes, the leaks were true. Windows 11 is not here yet, but it's been officially announced. So Microsoft did like a 45-minute presentation all about Windows 11, and I mean, it seems like it's an inoffensive update to Windows 10. I don't know how I feel about everything being in the middle of the taskbar. I know that you can change it or whatever, but yeah, it seems like a pretty inoffensive update. All the stuff that I was worried about pretty much got squashed. I was like, hopefully it's not like Windows 8. And they are making it more touch friendly. Like they made the icons further apart on the taskbar so they're easier to press. They're also going to let you do input by voice, which they claimed that input by voice was the best way to enter in text, like if you're in tablet mode. But from my experience, that it never works well, and it's just less convenient to activate. Like I want to be able to just input the letters like bam, 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 keyboard or a touchscreen keyboard, and it's good. So I'm not like excited about the tablet mode stuff. I don't really use Windows 10 with a tablet now. Like my work computer is a convertible that folds back into a tablet, but I just literally never use it that way. But it is good that they have like a more of a focus on the tablet mode, because also Android apps are apparently coming to Windows 11. That's a real thing that's happening. So yes, you're gonna be able to run Android apps probably like in a little window on Windows 11, and I think this actually makes more sense in some ways than iOS apps running on the MacBook, because at least with Windows, you might have a laptop or a tablet that obviously is going to have a touchscreen. And so it would make using these apps a lot more familiar, like using them on the phone. Obviously, they probably still work with a mouse and keyboard, but ideally, like, I don't see the point of putting a phone app on a computer without a touchscreen. Like, that's why I was confused about Apple doing it. I'm like, yeah, it's kind of a cool concept because you can develop the app for Mac OS and for iPhone and iPad, but without a touchscreen, that doesn't make it usable. So I don't know, but also I've used like Android apps back when I had a Chromebook, and it was still kind of a weird experience even having a touchscreen. So we'll have to see how it turns out. You know, you can have a way beefier Windows tablet or laptop, and I might have the horsepower to actually emulate them pretty well. So we'll have to see. One thing I did notice though, obviously this is still an early build of Windows 11, but like when they were doing the demo for the touch stuff, it was real laggy looking. I was like, ooh, that's probably not the best way to show this off. And then they were like resizing windows and stuff, and I was just like, this is not looking smooth for a demo. I understand it's early, but you gotta have that looking crisp. Should have sped that up a little bit and editing, add a few frames to that jank, because I was like, ooh, it was like kind of janky a little bit. It was fine, but I thought it looked kind of janky. Now also getting off the touch part of it, Windows is also doing multiple desktops, which they've been doing for a long time. But you can set your own wallpaper for the desktops, and you can have your own specific apps run on the desktop. Come on, y'all gotta cheer. Like, y'all are not making this exciting. It is exciting, I guess. Speaking of that, they're doing a kind of new organization thing where you could kind of have your apps laid out. Depending on the size of the screen, you can have like 3 apps side by side, and they'll kind of act in the taskbar as like a single icon, and you can kind of click it and open it back up. And also, if you have these app groups set up on multiple monitors, when you unplug the monitors, it just minimizes them. And then when you plug them back, it's supposed to automatically put them back into place. It's kind of similar to what they're doing with iPad OS, which I found interesting. And they mentioned it's the only operating system where you could do, this many apps together in an app group at the same time. I feel like there was some subliminal shots there, like bang, 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 bang. I don't know where they were coming from or who they were aimed at, but there were definitely some subliminal shots going on. The app groups, it seemed all right. Like, again, I don't even like side by side on Windows, really. Like, in most cases, and I have some pretty big monitors. I have two 32-inch monitors, and even then, I'm like, I'd rather just have one app full screen here and another app full screen here. I don't really mess with the multiple apps and the little windows and resizing. So, yeah. But if you do, though, that's kind of cool, especially now that Microsoft Teams is going to be built into the operating system. That'll make stuff in my job easier. At least I won't have to go out my way to install Teams. That's a plus for me. I don't know how popular Teams is outside of like a business setting, but I guess it's better to have a messenger installed, especially since most people run in Windows. And that way you can just be like, hey, open Teams and we'll talk on Teams and do a video conference. So I guess just having an app installed that's just ready to go, it's not bad. And Teams is not terrible. It's okay. It's whatever. But they took time to announce that, so I just thought I'd say something. Another app they're also pre-installing is GamePass, which is a little bit weird. Like, I like GamePass and I have GamePass, and I'm not going to get mad about that. Well, not that people should get mad about it, but it's just kind of like, why put more stuff on there? Like, someone might not even be using Windows for gaming or have a gaming computer, so why put more stuff up there? Like, obviously it's a marketing opportunity for them, especially with the streaming coming. Like, you don't need a gaming PC to play games, but at the same time, I feel like maybe don't force it down people's throat. Like, Teams is understandable, even though I don't care a lot for Teams personally, but just to have a built-in messenger that's available and ready to go out of the box, that makes sense. But the Game Pass stuff, I'm like, I like Game Pass, but I don't think you should automatically install that, especially because Windows, gets bloated over time. But they said that Windows updates should be 40% smaller, so that's good, I guess. If you believe them at face value, we'll have to see how it turns out in real life. But I mean, that'd be great if they could shrink Windows updates, because it really does take up a lot of space over time, and then you end up kind of having to reformat eventually because Windows just gets bloated and nasty, and you're just like, you know what, I gotta dump it all. There was also the gaming section that they covered, which for some reason had a more villainous tone than the rest of the presentation. Anyway, they're bringing auto HDR to Windows, where basically it can take SDR games and kind of add HDR effects to them. They gave Skyrim as an example during the presentation, and we'll have to see how that works. I don't know how well it works. I never used it on the Xbox. Another thing in the gaming section was direct storage, which allows the GPU to communicate directly with your SSD. The good thing is, I'm on PCIe Gen 3. I have a 3rd generation M2 drive, which should work with it. Also, it's going to support older GPUs as well, not just the current generation, which is good, but they've also made it a Windows 11 exclusive feature. So it's not coming to Windows 10. As we covered last week, Windows 10 is going to be officially RIP'd for real in 2025. So obviously they want people to upgrade, and it's supposed to be a free upgrade to Windows 11. Oh yeah, and before I forget, the other big thing is they're bringing widgets back. I don't really use widgets on a desktop like that, so whatever. I mean, it seems like it's better designed than it was before when they introduced it on Windows Vista. If they prove to be useful, I don't know, having the weather is nice. Maybe I'll do a weather widget or something like that. But me personally, I just can't think of what I would use widgets for in Windows. Maybe they'll come out with some cool ones, now that they're bringing it back, but we'll have to see. There was one other thing I was worried about, which was the start menu. It looks like it just pops up and there's a bunch of pinned items there, which I guess is good because there are a lot of apps that I do use more than just apps that I literally install, and maybe it's just an app that runs in the background that I never use. And so it is kind of cool to be able to pin stuff to the start menu instead of just the taskbar. And I noticed that there is still an option for all apps. So I was worried they were going to Windows 8ify the start menu, but it looks like it might actually be pretty useful. And if you don't want to interact with it, I guess you could just hit all apps and they'll bring up all of the apps. So overall, I think Windows 11 is fine. It's not super exciting. It's a design refresh, but I don't think anybody was really asking for a Windows 10 design refresh. But it makes sense because they need to make it more touch friendly. That's kind of what I mentioned last week. It feels like it's been a year because I keep talking. My throat's dry. I'm in pain. I'm in pain mentally. But yeah, I mentioned it last week. A lot of this redesign really feels like it's optimized for touch. A lot of this stuff, of course, they could have done in Windows 10, but I do think having the cutoff when you do a drastic redesign, especially to someone that's not tech savvy, I think they'll understand better. Like it went from 10 to 11 versus if they just dropped this update and made Windows 10 look completely different and operate slightly different. So I do understand why they're doing Windows 11. Also, if you do the math, Mac OS 10 changed to Mac OS 11. So Windows 10, if you take 11 and minus it 1, you get 10. So Windows 10 was less than 11. So now, if you take 10 plus 1, that also equals 11, and that makes 11 equal to 11. So it makes sense, right? Like Windows 11, Mac OS 11, everyone's 11s. You know, no one's satisfied with being a 10 anymore. You got to be an 11. You got to add something extra to the relationship. You can't just be like a 10. It's not acceptable. But you know what is acceptable? Me bringing this video to a conclusion. But if you enjoyed it, I'll be back on Wednesday with another super cool unboxing because it's been a while. But until then, make sure to tell a friend, tell a coworker, like, share, and subscribe, and always do at least 2 things at the same time.